Hello, y'all. This is Primetron Zero Gamer, and today I'm gonna be doing another Transformers review, and this review is about the Fallen, the very first Decepticon, and he was also one of the 13 Primes. He's one of the original Primes, and he was the very first Decepticon. He was the very first one to question the mythology of what he feel about other beings, like like as far as human beings, like he was the very first transformer that didn't like humans. He didn't want nothing to do. He didn't care about anything else but his own kind. And his brothers were different. His brothers were good. They were mostly like, they were Autobots. They were good guys. They were good, but I have to say that he was definitely one of the, he was really powerful, and he was one of the 13 Primes. He was one of the original Primes. And what him and his brothers did is that they scattered across the galaxy, and on each planet, they built the Harvester, the Harvest Energon. And with this Harvester, they used the Matrix of Leadership to activate the Harvester, the Harvester to blow up suns, But they had one rule, and that rule was never destroy a planet with life. And the Fallen defined this rule. He didn't like this rule. He didn't care about other life but his own, And he was the first person to start at the war. He was the very first Decepticon, And his real name is Megatronus, His real name is Megatronus. And this is what all the Decepticons follow after. The Decepticons look up to the Fallen, And what I love about it, and then the Fallen made his first appearance in the Transformers comic, The Fallen made his first appearance in the Transformers comic, And he also made his appearance, his appearance in the his second appearance in the Transformers live action movie, directed by Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg. He made his appearance in Transformers 2, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. And this movie, the Revenge of the Fallen, was about him getting his revenge against the ones that betrayed him, the ones, getting his revenge against, his brothers, the original Primes, because he was one of the 13 Primes. But he was evil, he was pure evil, and he's basically like the Godfather. He's basically like the father. He's like a father to the Decepticons. The Decepticons look after him. And what I like about, I really love his design in the Transformers live action movies. I like how they went deeper within his mythology. He wasn't just an ordinary Transformer. He had power, like he had the ability to teleport, to fly, to move very fast. He also had the ability to lift up, to use it's like he sort of had telekinesis, like he could lift up any machinery. He could control anything with just the palm of his hand. He could lift everything up and just destroy it. He had power. He had a lot of power. He wasn't an ordinary Transformer. He had power. He actually had power. He could move fast. He could teleport. He could appear anywhere. And he also had a weapon, which was a staff, that he used. So he's an ancient Transformer, and he was a Prime. And his great descendant is Optimus Prime, and Sentinel Prime, and Rodimus Prime, But he was definitely one of the original Primes. And he was the first one to start at the war, really. He was the first one. He was the very first Decepticon. He was the first of his kind to start at the war, to want to conquer and take over. Megatron sort of continued what he left off, because Megatron looked after him, and Megatron got his name from him, because Megatron his name is Megatron, but the Fallen his name is Megatronus. So they have like the similar name. So, but Megatron got his, he looked up to the Fallen, and the Fallen was the original Decepticon, and he wanted to destroy Earth. So what he wanted to do, that was his original plan, so, and the original, and Transformers 2, that was his plan, his army of Decepticons, the people, the ones to look up to him, because he was like a father figure to them, and, the Decepticons. So it was their revenge against Earth, because the Decepticons, we all know they want to take over, they want to destroy, and they want to conquer, and that's what Megatron wanted to do as well. And that was the Fallen. It originally started from him, and he was also voiced by Tony Todd, the actor. He was also voiced by the actor Tony Todd in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. And I have to say he did an amazing job with his voice, because he sounded creepy. I really liked the concept of the Fallen, and especially in Transformers, the live action movies. I loved his concept, I felt like he was very powerful. I like how they gave him different abilities from an ordinary Transformer. He was more powerful than Megatron. He was more powerful than an ordinary Transformer, He had a lot of power. He had special abilities, and he also, they said that, in the movie, that he was also stronger than his brothers, he was stronger, but he was evil, and he was blinded by hatred, and he only wanted to destroy. He didn't care about any other living. He didn't care about any other life form, but his brothers did. So the brothers took the Matrix from him to hide it, so he couldn't destroy, any planet, because they only destroyed planets that had no life. That was his brother's rule, but he didn't go about that rule. He didn't care, so he wanted the Matrix for himself to use to activate the Harvester to destroy any planet, so he didn't care, but to me, he's definitely one of my favorites. He's one of the original Primes. He's the very first Decepticon. He made his first appearance in the Transformers comic book. And he was very vicious, in my opinion, especially in the live action movies. And I'm just happy and thankful that we got a glimpse of him in the live action movies, because I didn't know anything about the Fallen until I seen Transformers 2, and when I found out it was from the comic book, I was just so blown away by the concept, because it was something fresh and new that they brought to the table, in my opinion. And I just felt like a lot of the movies get overlooked for that, especially in this day and age. It gets overlooked and criticized, especially Revenge of the Fallen, because they gave us the Fallen, which was a new villain. He was the original Decepticon, And, it wasn't just Megatron the Decepticons had to worry about. It was the Fallen. It was he was the godfather of the Decepticons. He was the one that started it all, and he was very powerful, and he was also a Prime. But the only person who was strong enough to defeat him is his descendant, which was Optimus Prime, no one else could defeat him, only a Prime. He said, only a Prime can defeat me. And he said only one remains. And that's why Megatron and Revenge of the Fallen killed Optimus, because he was the only one. He was the only threat to Optimus at that time. So I guess you could say Optimus can defeat him. And I guess Sentinel Prime, because he's a Prime too, he could defeat the Fallen. But he was saying only a descendant from him, someone that's a Prime, they said, can defeat him, because he's a Prime, so he was very strong. And I just love even the concept of his design. I loved his design. I like how they made his face basically the Decepticon symbol. Like if you look at his face, you realize it has that same concept as the Decepticon symbol, and that's what his face is. It's the Decepticon symbol, and that's what the Decepticons go after. That's what they stand by, the Fallen. That's who they serve. That's what the Decepticons look up to, because that's, the Fallen. The Autobots go by, I guess I have to say the Autobots followed by the other primes, like the good ones, but it was different primes, it was different ones. And the Fallen, he had brothers, and his brothers were good. They weren't as evil as he was. They were more like good guys. They were Autobots, but he was a Decepticon. He was the first of his kind, and he was very powerful, and he was an ancient transformer, and he had different abilities. He could teleport, he could fly, he could move very fastly. He can lift up any object within the palm of his hand, and he can destroy anything. Like he just had special powers, He had like incredible power, compared to Megatron and Optimus. He had different powers, He had the ability to lift up anything. He could control like rocks. I think he could even he can just lift up anything and just hit it in this and if he's facing his opponent, he can use his powers against his opponent. He can teleport, and he could teleport from any direction and hit his opponent. He also had a staff, So, but I really loved his design, and I just want to know from my subscribers, did you like his concept in Revenge of the Fallen? I loved his concept, in my opinion. I loved his design. I felt like he was very vicious, very evil. He was a traitor, to his brothers. But he was also very powerful, and he's definitely one of my favorite villains in the Transformers live action movies. He's definitely one of my favorite characters too, that I feel like that gets overlooked, especially in the Transformers lore. And I just feel like, one thing I have to say, it's just my opinion, I feel like the movies gets overlooked. They get criticized. They don't get that much credit, even to this day. But to me, I really like Revenge of the Fallen as much as I like the first Transformers. And I just felt like in Revenge of the Fallen, they went deeper within the lore. They talked about the history of the primes. They talked about the Fallen, where he came from, and I just want to make this video about this, y'all. But he was in a comic. That's when the Fallen made his first appearance. He didn't make his appearance in Transformers Generation 1, the cartoon. He actually appeared in the comic book. Now, in the comic book, he looked a little different. His design was a little different. He had flames, and he was more of a darker color. But in a live action movie, he looked a little more different, his design. But I really enjoyed his design in the movies, the live action movie. And I just love the person that did his voice, Tony Todd. Tony Todd is the guy who did the voice of Candyman. If y'all remember the horror movie Candyman, that's who the guy is. The guy, the main guy with the hook. Yeah, he did the voice of the Fallen. And I think he did an amazing job, because the Fallen was no joke, And he's one of the 13 primes. He was one of the original primes.